So here comes a nightmare. I can't play music, so I have to torture you with it. I'm sailing, I am sailing home again, across the sea. I am sailing stormy waters to be near you, to be free. Am flying, I am flying like a bird across the sky. I am flying, passing high clouds to be with you, to be free. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Through the dark night, far away, I am dying, forever crying, to be with you. Who can say? You hear me? Can you hear me? Through the dark night, far away, I am dying, forever crying, to be with you. Who can say? He's so gay looking. Then again, how can you tell with a Brit? We are sailing home again, across the sea. We are sailing stormy waters to be near you, to be free. All right, that's enough of him. That's Rod the Mod. And Rod the Mod just turned 80. He just turned 80. Let me see which day. Oh, January 10th. So he didn't just turn 80. Sir Roderick David Stewart, born 10 January 1945. He just turned 80. I just found out that he turned 80. All right, let's go through some of these stocks. I am sailing. I am sailing far away across the sea. Everything's red except Railtown on my first 5 that pop up. Fingers down 53, 280. Nixie's down 7 cents, 171. G-Bucks is down 59 cents, 260. GPUS, whatever that is down 291.96 at 485. And Railtown is up 0.0048, half a penny, 28.28. And we can look, I can look to see if there's anything else on my quick list. I guess you can look at GME if you want to. I am sailing. Oh, I pulled up PSLV instead. It's up 25 cents at 11.13. I meant to pull up GME. GME is down 90 cents and is trading at 25.65. Anyway, I don't want to go through any other stocks. Let me show you guys something on Nixie. Today, Nixie announced preliminary, this is this morning, 1.4 million in April revenue. And I didn't print it all out, so let me pull up the full news story and I'll read it to you. Nixie today announced preliminary revenue performance for its telecom operations based on internal systems data. The results reflect ongoing growth in voice, infrastructure, and new platform activation, positioning the company to scale across multiple communications channels. The company continues to execute on its AI-driven telecom strategy, with commercial SMS traffic expected to contribute meaningful new revenue streams starting in May 2025. Management has also initiated a leadership expansion to support the next phase of platform growth and carrier partnerships. For the month of April 25, the company generated over 1.4 million in gross revenue. As of May 5, Nixie has already exceeded 800,000 in May revenue. So in the first less than a week of May, they're rapidly approaching all of, April's revenue number. Based on internal usage trends and commercial onboarding, the company is targeting a May 2025 gross revenue run rate in excess of 3 million. So I'm not particularly good at arithmetic, but that should translate to a run rate of 36 million in revenue for the year. These preliminary figures exclude SMS-related traffic from April, with commercial SMS activity scheduled to begin in April 25. Quote, "We are encouraged by the early performance in Q2, which reflects growing platform utilization and early indicators of scaled telecom operations," said Miles Jennings, interim CEO of Nixie. Continuing, "As we activate new commercial channels and expand executive leadership, we remain focused on executing a disciplined growth strategy built on intelligent infrastructure. In support of its expanding AI-enabled telecom footprint, they're going to bring on telecom-focused executive leadership as early as this week. This strategic hiring bring domain expertise. My eyesight. These strategic hires bring domain expertise in high-volume switching, global carrier networks, and enterprise routing. Their addition reflects Nixie's commitment to deepening telecom execution capabilities in support of growing voice and SMS volumes. Looking ahead, Nixie expects to provide additional updates. On product integration, SMS platform activation, and expanded leadership in its broader telecom infrastructure strategy. Nixie is a publicly traded technology company focused on AI solutions, transforming, aims, unlock potential, accelerate, create, focus. And their current focus is Aura Link AI, which is telecom and AI building, and on CPAAS software subsidiary, which delivers AI-powered services. Anyway, that is Nixie today. The stock is trading down 7 cents. It was as high today as 197, and a pretty strong volume, 475,000 shares. So that's the news they announced. That, based on the previous things I read to you of all their announcements and discussions publicly that they put out on press releases, I don't think that's all the news that's coming. But they said over the weeks ahead, so I don't know how long our wait will be, but I continue to think Nixie is attractive at these price levels. On a risk-reward basis, I don't know how much you risk on the downside. 25 cents upside, double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, maybe more. But I think Nixie's an $8 stock, maybe a $10 stock. Yeah, I don't know when, weeks maybe, but we'll find out. Everything happens more quickly when the story gets strong and people get convinced and they get excited and they're talking. Things can happen more quickly than the news. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. I just read you their news today. All that singing has made my throat dry. Wouldn't you have loved to be Rod Stewart? I read a book about him. He was a lucky guy. All those guys were lucky to come of age right when the record industry was booming. All right, let's see what. Call Ham. That's what we're here for, please. All right, I'm not going to call Ham Dirty Red. You can hang up. Ham talked to you. Ham talked to you this morning, and you can hear that taped on Giannis's Twitter. So go find it there. I was going to try to call him, but I'm not. I'm not going to take orders from you. If you're here to listen to him, you just made me decide I'm not going to call him. If he calls in, he's more than welcome to call in. I'll pick it up and I'll play it. But I'm not going to call him because you just demanded it. I'll tell you where you can find his update. It's on Twitter. A copy of his call this morning at 9 o'clock. But to be clear, I'm more than glad to have him on. But I'm not going to take, you're not the boss of me, and I'm not going to take the insult that this is what you're here for. Then go somewhere else. You're here to listen to Ham. Ham's one of the guys I bring on, the only guy really. But if you're here for Ham, then Ham will be here if he wants to be, and I'll be glad to have him here. But I talk about other things. So jump off. Jump off. There might be a lake near you, too. Hey, Ryan. I like Engelbert Humperdinck. I don't know if I do. He had that one song. He had one song I liked, but I'm not sure I liked Engelbert. The name, though, you got to like that name. Engelbert Humperdinck. I like Tom Jones. but I don't think I ever really liked Engelbert. I like Rod Stewart. Massive update from Nixie today, but price dropped 5%. I don't think so. Shadow call. I don't know if I still have it here. Yeah, here. Look at the, I don't know, in the middle of this bullet point list I made on Sunday. They have a Nixie contract that as it scales can achieve a runway of monthly revenue at 25 million. So, I mean, when, they don't say when, 25 million a month. So I'm not sure that update was massive. I think it was good. It wet our whistle, but I think there's more to come. I mean, just going back to this list, I'm not going to read through it all, but there's, you know, a dozen things there that they need to follow up on. And sure enough, they processed in March, and then in April, 1.2 million. I think there's more to come. My point is not to say that it's not good news. I think it's good news, but I think there's more news to come, and we'll see what it says. Price drop. I don't know. Shadow call. I don't know how many times I have to explain to people. I guess I'll just have to explain it until I'm asked to leave this spinning globe. In the United States markets, it looks like starting in 1994, when the Clinton administration changed the law, and then in 2008, when Obama came in and Reg Show was passed, in the United States, there's 4 tickets. You can buy, you can sell short legally, or you can use the market maker exemption to sell stock you don't own, you don't borrow, you have no intention of delivering, you never deliver, you never borrow, you never buy, and you never locate. And in this context, together with Clinton era rule change, brokerage firms take securities, they pool those securities in street name at the DTC, and then broker dealers on faith in prime brokers, primarily stock loan departments, execute trades on your behalf, buy and sell, in what is called a securities entitlement. You have an entitlement. You have a claim to a pro rata share of that pool of securities. Now, what Wall Street, and this is something I've been talking about for a few years, 3 years now, Wall Street is imitating the fractional reserve banking system. They've created a fractional reserve security custodialship system. So in the case of Nixie, and Nixie originally was recruiter.com, and the last guy, Granger Whitlaw, oversaw recruiter.com from hundreds of dollars, if I recall the chart, down to next to nothing. He was terrible in his decision making and the destruction that happened to recruiter.com. But he got 250,000 shares of Nixie as his reward. So all's well that ends well for him. Free to trade. So there is a motivated, in my opinion, there's a motivated short position in the recruiter.com story that has now come into Nixie. Does that mean it's a short squeeze? Time will tell. But what it does mean, shadow call, news is meaningless. News is meaningless unless it's a surprise, unless it dramatically changes the story. Otherwise, news, shadow call, is an excuse for the criminals, the shorts, the people that use the fourth ticket, selling stock that does not exist legally under reg show. Obama, Cox, SEC. They can sell entitlements, and they do it. They don't want the stock to go up. They don't want it to go up on good news, so they sell. On bad news, they punish it because they can make a profit selling it. They don't own it, but if it goes down 50 cents, they can cover it, make a quick profit. That's the market you're trading in, although I think you're one of the shorts. So who's selling is the criminals. The news is good today. I don't think it was massive, but it was very good today. And the stock is down. Why? Because the criminals sell stock they don't own, they don't locate, they don't borrow, they will not deliver. And you know this because you work with them. But I actually see it differently than your implied post. I think it's a buying opportunity in Nixie. It was huge volume today, 476,000. Probably the most of that wasn't real. But the stock really hasn't collapsed very much at all. It's just pulled back. And I expect more news coming out of Nixie. When? I don't know. The thing I just read you said over the next weeks. But I appreciate you coming in and trying to scare people out of Nixie, because that leads me to believe that you're in trouble. And I hope you get burned. I hope you get burned when in your short position. Hey, Barbara. Can you look at this China company DDL one day? DDL. Let me look. This is going to be a stock that was. You really want me to look this up? It's called Ding Dong Cayman Limited. So number one, it's easy to borrow. It's a Cayman Island stock. And God, these guys are scared of what's about to happen in Nixie. These guys are sweating. DDL. I just have a sense this is going to be a stock that was crushed. No, not in the last 6 months. It's down. Last year, it's down, but it's not crushed. Oh, yep. Let's see if that's 4 years. 4 years ago, I guess it started trading. It must have taken a financing, got destroyed, and for about 3 years it was crushed. They took it down from $50 down to well under $1, it looks like. And now they're trying to sucker you in. I wouldn't touch it with guys, when people like this come on you don't recognize, they bring up a strange stock, they want your money going over for their own motives, but it's also to get you out of the stocks you're in. I wouldn't trust it. In other words, fraud, fraud, and even more fraud. Yeah, I think I think it's fraudulent. But what's hard for me to understand is there's a contradiction in the laws. So the brokerage firm is able to Xerox the title to the securities multiple times, hypothecate and rehypothecate. And then as long, I assume in the big document, as long as they've hedged it with derivatives, it's the risk they can claim is non-existent. But I think that's got to be all baloney. And so, you know, in the case of I'm trying to think of a stock. I know the numbers. I don't know the numbers on any stock for real, but you know, they can go up 5-1 on the so-called real shares. But the real shares are pooled at the DTCC. And then it's just a matter of moderating how many hypothecated and rehypothecated and rehypothecated and rehypothecated shares they put out there. And under the UCC, because of Clinton, that seems to be okay. But what's not okay is collusion. What these guys are doing, coming in to cause you to sell with misinformation, that's illegal. Shorting the stock, you still have to deliver the stock, but they have no intention of doing it. I don't have it, it's over there. But the last time the SEC filed against the Kramers, the two lawyers wrote, Maher something and maybe Kennedy Fitzgerald, I don't know. Anyway, they wrote that it's required that you locate the shares in writing before you enter the trade. But nobody enforces those securities laws. It's like smoking pot. You walk down the street, well, here it's legal, but in other parts of the country, you know, it's okay. It's against the law, but they don't arrest it. If you did that in Saudi Arabia, you'd be executed. But it's just I think it's a policy decision just not to execute it. Remember, our country is run by the banks and the military-industrial complex, Wall Street, the hedge funds, the Israeli lobby, which I'm not picking on Jews, I'm not picking on Israel, I am picking on Zionists. And yeah, you know, we go along with it, but it's coming to an end, and that's the scary thing. I can't get it across to people. You've got to make sure, if you're a heavy drinker, stop. If you're sedentary, start walking. If you eat a lot of sugar, try to cut down. I know it's tough. If your diet is all processed food, start eating, you know, vegetables and fruit and other legumes, so that your body, your health starts getting stronger. Start reading. That's also hard to do in the modern world. If you like to play golf or you like to hunt or do other things, start doing those things so that your soul is nourished. Build friendships with your neighbors. Try to stay close with your family. That gets harder as you get older sometimes. And if you're so inclined, seek to get right with God, however way you feel or not. I mean, I'm not, but just get ready for what's coming. It's not going to be pleasant. This fraud is going to come to an end, not because anyone's going to do anything about it, because the whole system is going to come down. Now, in my opinion, we have a window open with Donald Trump. Oh, truth and Trump is oxymoronic. Whatever. If you want to listen to Rachel Maddow or Aaron Burnett or any number of the semi-good-looking new faces of CNN, ABC, go ahead. But it's the same as looking the other way on the laws on these trades. It's all going to come down. It's all going to come down. Do you know that Jeffrey Sachs, you know, they say that Trump is a similar to what the brown-shirted guys were in this country in Europe 90 years ago. Trump's one of those. Well, the people behind the news, behind YouTube, behind other platforms, Facebook, monitor content. There's another word for what that means. And they don't allow you to see information that you should see. Jeffrey Sachs, who, by the way, is Jewish, but Jeffrey Sachs, professor, courageous man, honest man, just came out. And let me see if I can find it for you. The corruption in our country is going to destroy us. It's absolutely going to destroy us. Problem is, I can't play. I've got to play. I hope they don't ding me.
It wasn't actually invented in China. Jeffrey Sachs was, by the way, remember, he was the head of the Lancet study group to study COVID.
Extensive work over the last but my view, based on very extensive work over the last 4.5 years, is that COVID came from the University of North Carolina, which is the leading researcher on beta coronaviruses, working with the US government on a set of grant proposals that identified putting in the viral change that created SARS-CoV-2. It's a grim truth. It's ugly. It's been hidden from view. The reason I mention it in this context is we don't have any global governance that is effective right now to control the manipulation of dangerous pathogens, like the manipulation that created the pandemic. And when it happened, and officially it took 7 million deaths, but probably if you count all of the deaths associated with COVID, it was probably closer to 20 million.
That's Jeffrey Sachs. Your news, your leaders, your banks, your military, they don't want you to know that. China said, hey, we didn't do it. Turns out they were telling the truth. So as the United States continues to lie, and many of you believe that it's Trump who's lying, not the Democrats, not the Republicans. It doesn't matter. I'm tired of fighting that. But the longer we lie, the harder it's going to fall when it all falls. And our lives are going to be different. Our lives are going to be different. Much, much different. As a former teacher, all right, Korean Yoon, as a former teacher, professor, lecturer, coach, I had to make repeating a practice that was used most often. Students are not the same as students of yesteryear. I'm not the same as I was yesteryear. So I guess Wall Street Wolfie wants you to go over to AMC. I don't know. Or he's just pointing out the irony. Finger is down 50 cents. And the volume's pretty strong, 800,000. The question is this a pause for the cause? Or is this it for a while? We don't know. I continue to think that the chart has looked very strong on Finger. I have continued to think it would be a buy the dip, sell the rip, a kind of a challenge to break through each of these levels. And it's actually shown quite a bit of strength, great volume. But Finger is in a pullback. Nothing goes straight up. And you have to judge what you think is coming. I've made clear what I think might come. I'm not going to go back over that. I've also said that I think for Finger that a lot of the knowledge that we need will come with the annual report and possibly with announcements shortly thereafter. Anyway, there's a lot of things you need to know as you decide, is the value of the stock. Right now, the market cap's 128 million. It was higher, obviously. It was almost 200 million. But at 128 million, with revenue roughly flat the last 2 years. It's rough. We'll see the management's discussion and all that. And I'm not trying to be negative at all, but 125 million divided by, I'm going to use 35 million as their revenues. That could be off significantly, but I don't want to go through the filings and take the time to look. It's just by memory. That's 3.5 times revenue. Is that a fair price for Finger? If it's growing, it might even be a really cheap price. But we need some of that data. We need some of that knowledge that will come in 3 weeks. So I don't know what to say. I don't even want to look because it'll be depressing. But the calls for May they may already have lost a lot of their premium, and a lot of them they may have gone no bid. They might go no bid tomorrow. That just depends on what you see. That might be an opportunity to gobble up a bunch of them if you believe Finger's going to have a run in the next 10 days. But if you do that, you have to know that you don't have to know anything. If it were me, I would just be planning on losing that money in return for gigantic potential upside. I think it's more likely that Finger is going to give us a lot of good information by June 1. And we can expect a very strong performance if they execute, and if the United States and China make nice, which are the rumors right now. I think Finger has a potentially very glorious future ahead of it. That's nice. Peace, love, and happiness, and little puppy dogs. Do I know about Patrick Byrne's health? No, I don't. Patrick Byrne did a great fight, and I've played his videos to you, and I've listened to hours of his interviews. He had to sign a settlement, and in many ways, I don't know if he stopped fighting, but his fight morphed a bit. And that's what I think. I think it's really policy choices. There's no question what the Lynn Partners and the Anson funds, and I think Roth Capital, I think Goldman Sachs, there's no question what all these guys do is illegal. But there's a lot of things illegal in the world that don't get enforced. You are getting all the hatred red. Yeah, I didn't know hate is red, but I guess you might be saying hatred. Yeah, that's good. Ham might come on. I've been emotional lately. Yeah, it's possible. Look, I'm not a perfect person. I may be emotional. This is frustrating. People are stealing money, just like people are stealing land and building settlements, and no one cares. No one cares. I'm telling you, no one cares. They just don't care. And so it gets frustrating. Michael might be right. Good news is we filled the gap from the other day. Should be only up from here. You could be right. I'm I'm trying to get the volume. There it is. It really hasn't changed much, 857,000. We are going gold backed. Well, I don't know. That's sort of an imprecise. I don't know who you mean by we. I don't know what you mean by gold backed. And then that implies that you think that's going to solve everything. And I'm not sure. I think the world it is obviously turning to gold. The central banks are the buyers of gold over the last many weeks. Will they continue? I think so. I think it's the best explanation for why gold has gone up and silver hasn't, is most central banks other than Russia are not buying silver. So gold has taken the lead. I don't think we're ever going to go to a gold standard, ever. I don't think we're going to go back to a mercantile system, ever. You don't say what you mean by gold backed, but I think we will go to can't remember if it was a John Maynard Keynes creation, but there's a thing called a bank core. The IMF has something that they give to central banks called special drawing rights. Maybe special drawing rights morphs into an international currency. I think it's more likely that the United States is at best a co-equal, but maybe not. We'll be in the top tier of negotiators. But the next I don't know what to call it. The next right now, the dollar is basically the world's currency. I mean, that's one of the reasons we can issue as much debt as we do. Reserves are still almost 60% dollars. The Democrats and the woke and the womanists and the people that find Trump dishonest are doing their best to make sure the United States continues down a path that destroys the dollar and the dollar's standing in the world. But I think even with all their work, it's going to be years before the dollar is replaced anywhere. I don't think China has the depth of market. Europe is even worse than our Democratic Party. They hate Trump. It's not specifically about Trump. It's that whole ideology of not making a course correction. And it helps the banks. That's all it does. It just helps the banks. So maybe what you're saying is the dollar will be gold backed. I don't think so. I don't think they'll back the dollar with gold. They may create an international dollar or debt, treasury debt that's backed by gold, but I don't think they'll back the dollar with gold. We need to print a lot of it, and we're going to have to print tens of trillions of dollars and put it on the Fed's balance sheet. And if we're tied to a gold standard or a gold ratio, we won't be able to do that. So I don't see that happening in the United States. To the extent the dollar, at least the international dollar, becomes part of some basket of currencies that the world uses for trade, yeah. And I think that number, probably the one I think Jim Rickards settled on is 40%. And I don't know any better than Rickards. But those new currency issuances that become a basket, maybe the basket itself is 40% gold. Anyway. Jeffrey's very smart. He's also honest. He's also honest. Any cheddar left for finger? I mean, it doesn't look bad. In a lot of ways, the stock is now firmly priced kind of above where it was when Roth Capital destroyed it in December. So that's progress. We're only down 15% today. We removed all the gold from the Vatican. I didn't know that. We certainly, I'm sure, removed the gold from Libya. We prevented Iraq from trading in gold, and Libya as well, trading a pan-Arabian gold-backed currency. We destroyed that. Venezuela, we got their gold back. Did we manipulate the elections? Did the CIA get involved? I don't know. But under Hugo Chavez, he repatriated the gold. He died young. And there's been turmoil ever since. And Venezuela has sold that gold back into the market. So the Western system got Venezuela's gold back. I've thought about it quite a bit on China. China's having a lot of trouble, it looks like, with debt. And, you know, their model, Vietnam and other countries are beating them on their original model. I think they have built the infrastructure and the computer-driven laboratories, factories, to become the supplier to the growing middle classes in the Middle East, Russia, Southeast Asia, Africa. But if China's economic issues are really bad, they might have to start selling gold. And if they do, I'll always wonder, did the Western financial system engineer that? But it's possible. Doesn't look like it now. So I don't know. I didn't know we took the gold from the Vatican. I didn't know that. I'm predicting a big announcement from DJT will be getting back, from Donald Trump, that will be getting back on the gold standard. Well, I think you're totally wrong on that. But before you've said that, and I'm grateful for your prediction, but I pointed out to everybody here that Donald Trump, his Oval Office versus Joe Biden's, can you see the difference? I mean, I'm not much of a movie director, but if you were trying to get a message across, what message is Donald Trump trying to send other than Jefferson, Washington, and Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, were, pretty good guys for white guys. What's the other message he's trying to send? I think it's gold. I think Trump is sending a message about gold, but I think you misinterpreted. I don't think you really understand. I don't think you really understand. No one does. No one fully understands, but I don't think you understand economics. You're just part of a younger cohort who make that statement. A lot of people do. We're going to go on a gold standard. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We cannot go back to a mercantile system. You cannot. Now, it may be if we have a population collapse and economies collapsing, not growth, but implosion. A gold standard may work for a while, but it's not going to happen. There's not going to be a gold standard. It's not going to be a gold standard. You have to remember that if you sell, your broker may take away the buy button. It's a good point. It's a good point. If you sell, you may not be able to buy back in. That's true. Wow, gold is up 2%. Lion, I think it's great that you're pushing it, but I've been talking about gold here since it was 1,500. Vizsla's a good one, and so's the Vizsla dog. Vizsla's good. I tried to point it out to you guys the other day. I might still have that here. Let me see if I do. This, I showed you the charts. Do I have that here? Maybe I do. Here's one. These are which countries produce the most silver. Mexico's number one. China and Peru were tied for second. And the United States is way back in the field, but the big producers are Mexico, China, and Peru. Those three countries produce half of the annual output of silver, Mexico, China, and Peru. And I don't see our name in there, but I know it. There it is, US, 32 million ounces a year. So it's not that much. But the group that put the work into these charts is Vizsla Silver Corp's Panuco project. Today, projects like Vizsla's Silver Corp's Panuco project in northwest Mexico demonstrate the country's vast potential. Panuco alone contains an estimated 200 million ounces of silver. So I brought that to your attention. That's by way of saying that I agree with you guys. I think Vizsla is a good mining stock. And I think Mexico is a reasonable, stable government. And I will say it again. For those of you, I know you're waiting and waiting. I am too. But you invested in that gold company. Not even the upper end, but an upper range of what that project could contain is 200 million ounces of gold. So it's you're going to be glad to be in it if everything works out. G-Bucks is marching back up. They they have, I don't have the quote here. Let me look. They have basically a handful of days to get that deal done. And yeah, you're right. It's only down 4 cents now. It's pretty low volume. So if they get the deal done, which I hate pointing out, you also have to wonder, why isn't it already done? But if they do get it done, you're right. You're right to point that out. You went to the University of North Carolina connection. Dr. Ralph Barrick is a scary dude. Yeah, I don't know anything about him, but I think Fauci's a scary dude. I can't say that. I got to say thank you, Dr. Fauci. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're around, Dr. Fauci. And I watch CNN, and when I see CNN and Fauci, I think truth. But when I see Truth Social and Donald Trump, I think jumbo shrimp. I think oxymoronic. Yeah, that is why they killed Gaddafi. I see, you know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about. We came, we saw, he died. Nice to see G-Bucks. By the way, Charlie, that kind of move on G-Bucks is a pretty good sign that you might get a rally in G-Bucks soon. I mean, that's nice action. It was as low as 260, and it looks like it's going to close in the green. That's what they used to call it. There's not enough volume though, but that used to be called capitulation. I don't think there's enough volume in it to call it that, but that kind of sell-off and then closing in the green is a very bullish thing for G-Bucks. Doesn't mean anything will happen, but it could. Yeah, you also brought HNRC to everybody's attention, and I like it. I liked the story, so I can't blame you. But that's been a disappointment. EXK. Yeah, I don't. Let me look it up. See where it's trading. Well, yeah, Endeavor. I've talked about that quite a bit, Lion. Endeavor's one of the best, and it's one of the go-to. It's one of the go-to stocks. So you seem to be well informed. I give you credit for that. But Endeavor Silver is one of the stocks I always mention. But the stocks to be in right now are not these small ones, although you can do it. But you want to be in, like here, I pointed out, it's got to be a year and a half ago, might be 2 years ago. I was, it's a long time ago, but I highlighted everything and I've presented it many times. But the GDXJ tracks junior miners and some of Dr. Lieb's favorite miners, Nova Gold and Endeavor are in it. And we've talked about those. But if you don't have positions in the big companies, That's where the Red Sox boys will go first. There's all the big ones. But anyway, I've read this before. Endeavor Mining. Now this might be different than this one. That's Endeavor Silver. But Endeavor Mining in Australia also is one to look at. The ones here that I've talked about are Nova Gold, Gabriel Resources, International Tower Hills, Endeavor Mining, Fresnillo, the big caps Newmont and Barrick, Franco Nevada, and I mean, there's quite a few. The others that I have mentioned are some of them. I mean, there's so many. They're all going to run. But the big ones are going to run. They've already come up, I know, so maybe you feel like you missed out. Anico is a great one. But here's the top tier. Some of them I have spoken to you in depth, but top tier, Hecla Mining, that's HL, Endeavor Mining, EDV, Wheaton Precious Metals, Pan American Silver, Franco Nevada, Agnico Eagle, and then there's a bunch of kind of mid-tier, and there's a bunch of names here, but a couple that I've mentioned, I wouldn't say I really talked about: Equinox Gold, Mag Silver, Fortuna Silver. And then the junior gold, this AYA, I like Calibra, and there's some others I'm not going to read. And then there's the speculations. There's one out there for you, Lion One Metals. But the way this gentleman does his portfolio, top tier, mid-tier, juniors, and then speculations. The money as it pours in to mining is going to go in those top tier companies first. And they don't have Alamis here. Alamis I would put as top tier. They don't have Barrick or Newmont because everybody's list is different. But the top tiers are going to go up first because that's where they don't lose their job if they buy those. Then the mid tiers will catch up. Then it'll be the juniors, and then it'll be every stock out there in this space. I mean, I showed everyone, and I don't know if yeah, there it is. I have to take Lion's comment down. And this comes from the Morgan report. It comes from Cat USA. Now, this doesn't come, let me think a second. Yeah, it does. I think this comes from the Morgan report, which you can subscribe to. The entire oil and gas industry market cap is 7 trillion. I think that's low. NVIDIA is 3 trillion. The crypto universe is 2 trillion. Tesla is 1 trillion. The gold mining industry is 500 billion. Silver is 1/10 of a trillion or less. It's a 20th of a trillion. the obvious place that's going to change is the NVIDIAs of the world are going to come down. But it could be other places that Warren Buffett is sitting on $365 billion. If he decided to buy silver, you will miss out on the trade. You will miss out on the trade. Quantum Scape, QS. About. Look, all these plays that bounce, they've been destroyed by the shorts. The shorts want to get out of them, but they'd love retail to come give them something more to steal. They'll do a reverse split. The stock will go up. They'll get everyone up, and then they crap it out again. On the other hand, there are sometimes, man, maybe this is one of them, where the stock does, like recently Root, where the stock does, yeah, Texas House passed a gold-backed currency bill. As far as I know, Texas does not have its own currency. It uses the US dollar. But I do believe that, I'm trying to remember, there's more than one state that are making gold and silver legal tender. I don't know the mechanics of it, though. But Texas uses the United States dollar. Yeah, is that over 3 now? G-Bucks is 319. It's going to close in the green. So that was a great buying opportunity when it pulled back. And, you know, maybe it's going to run. Maybe it's going to run. I think G-Bucks, G-Bucks is, that's a great, that's a, ask Lion, but when the stock goes down to the lows and snaps right back and goes to highs on the day, that's a bullish signal, a very bullish signal. Hillary is not hilarious. That's true. Yeah. Look, it's not a, I'm not in a battle to beat you to mentioning things. I've just been studying the I guess it started with natural gas because the North America is so well endowed with natural gas, and it made sense that that would be our fuel of the future. But then I really studied a few different people and had a shelf full of books on peak oil, and I joined the whatever it's called. I'm trying to remember. It's called APSA, and I think it's still alive and kicking. But then that, I'm talking 20 some years ago. That really got my focus on monetary debt, our markets, all of that. But it got me into gold and silver. And I've studied crypto. I've told you I was in London, and I easily could have bought $100,000 worth of Bitcoin or more at the time, but I didn't. And so I live here, and the other guys live in Dorado Beach. I like DJT, 50 calls for 20 cents. Great value. Well, Charlie, nobody knows your situation, but if you buy the 50s, you're expecting the stock to double, better than double, in 2 months. And it could happen. It could happen. And 20 cents is arguably a small premium. On the other hand, it's pretty big premium for a stock that's trading at $26. I don't know where it's trading. So it's risky, but I think you're right. That looks like a reasonable gamble. Everybody's stealing from everybody's stealing from all the stuck. So what we should do? Are you Chinese? What we should do? Stay out? No, I mean, you're trying to make money. These trades sometimes work. My opinion, everybody listening to me, I agree with Lion and Mark and others that the mining sector, which I've been talking about myself for a long time, is going to, and I've said this, it's going to make fortunes. But I think if you don't own the physical, that should be your first priority. And Benjamin, if you want to get out of the stock market, which I wouldn't blame you, if you take a portion or all of the money that you've dedicated to speculation, but I even think you should take some of the monies you feel like you have in safe investments, because in the long run, I'm not sure the treasury or the munis or the CDs that you have are going to be safe. But in a reasonable period of time, they may well be. The next 9 months, the next 18 months, they may well be. But by my definition, there is no safer investment than silver. But if your mind measures your wealth in US dollars, that might be a tricky thing to grasp for you. But if you can start thinking of your wealth as ounces of gold and ounces of silver and other things, then my statement rings true. Now, Wall Street right now doesn't tell you that. They say it's speculative because they want you in their credit. They want you in their market, which is all a promise. It's all a con job. And the only thing out there other than gold, I suppose platinum, palladium, things like that, the only asset out there that is not in an everything bubble, and I think one of those, platinum and palladium, might count in that, but is silver. Silver's nominal high in 1980 was 52. Oh, that was just the hunts. Well, okay. It also happened to be when gold hit its high of $850. And then silver in 2011 hit a high of 50 something, like right at $50. So silver, which is suppressed, I mean, I'll show you again if it's here. The last 5 years of silver production versus silver consumption has resulted in deficits. And when you add up the deficits cumulatively for those 5 years, it's equivalent, almost equivalent, to an entire year's worth of silver production. And it will lead to these miners being the place to be. But right now you can buy silver under $40 an ounce. And I think, I don't know anything about your situation, Benjamin, but if you're sick of the market, and it shows up that I'm sick of all this deception. If you have a profit, you definitely got to put some of that money in silver. But if you don't have a profit, maybe you just do it anyway. I think the single best investment, the single best short squeeze, the single safest investment in the world is silver. But you have to see the world over a period of time that gold and silver are going, they are real money. This isn't money. This is not money. This is, it says here, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. It says it's a Federal Reserve note. It says, in God we trust. It's got a picture of the White House. And it says Federal Reserve note. That makes you feel good. This is just credit. This is just credit. Gold is money. Silver is money. And this one's even signed by Janet Yellen. Ugh. Ugh. She signed a lot of bills. Yeah, I agree. That call is out of the money. The June $3 calls for Finger. That might be a reasonable bet. Finger is even recovering a little bit right now. Hey, PS 71. Yeah, Korean Yoon. Speaking about repeating, I'll repeat. Mike Maloney did that calculation. I just have to find it. Who wants yesterday's paper? Who wants yesterday's girls? Nobody in the world. I can't find it. Darn it. I never find anything when I need it. It's never out of my way when I don't need it, but when I need it, I can't find it. Yick. Janet Yellen. Yick. Yick. Oh. Oh. Korean Yoon, I can't find it. I will though. I will here. I'll go through each page. It'll show up. It will show up. Just have to be patient. Okay, maybe it's here. Here it is. So anyway, Korean Yoon, according to Mike Maloney, silver was definitely in a bubble in January of 1980. The price of silver shot up from $1.29 to a Chicago Board of Trade intraday high of $52.50 an ounce. Since then, it made one more run at the $50 level, topping at $48.70 in 2011. But silver has never surpassed $52.50. And this is Mike Maloney saying this. I would argue that silver is the most undervalued asset in the world today. Can you think of anything else, anything that is selling for less today than in 1980, other than A Night Out with Madonna? Silver was definitely in a bubble in January of 1980, but I believe because of the coming economic storm, both gold and silver are destined for bubbles far greater this time around. So for fun, let's compute what the silver price would be if it went into the same type of bubble relative to the growth factor in currency supply and in the price run of other assets since 1980. The numbers below show where silver would be relative to its 1980 peak, with the price derived simply by multiplying the 1980 high by the percentage rise in these other categories. And so you can see the flaw in his calculation. He's using the highest price it ever was. But on the other hand, that's what everything else did too. They all moved based on the highs from 1980, whether it's the stock market or bonds probably in 82. The consumer price index, if you compared silver to what's happened to the CPI during that time, silver would be 200. The median house price since 1980, silver would be $468 an ounce. The Wilshire 5000 stock index, silver would be $2,178 an ounce. 10-year Treasury bonds, silver would be $1,059. US GDP, silver would be $468. Currency in circulation, silver would be $971. Using M2 as your money supply, silver would be $781. Using MZM, which is some measure of all the money available instantly on Wall Street, etc. It would be 1,250. The average of all those, if silver just ran like everything else, would be $921 an ounce. Yeah, Richard, that could be. If Paul Atkins is using Doge as his hound dog, that could be. And Mike, I agree with that thinking. I agree with that thinking. You're trying to make money on G-Bucks and you'll buy some silver with the profits. I agree with that thinking. G-Bucks looks great. Really looks good. Our brokers selling us. I think, Bryant, that question is maybe more complicated than I'm going to answer it. But yeah, they sell it to institutions too. But remember, institutions, if you're SAC, Stevie Cohen's fund, he has his own internal compliance bookkeeping, and he may not accept failure to deliver. He may request delivery. And I have to admit that I don't know how exactly that would be provided for, because everything is an electronic share. If the institution buys it or if you buy it, it's all electronic. So it just seems like they agree that they've delivered. Dr. Susan Trimbath says you can deliver a failed to deliver. You can settle a failed to deliver with another failed to deliver. Yeah, that's a good point. I've never been a coach. I needed one. Bids are lining up on G-Bucks. How would I buy silver? I would, John Croissant points out you can go to your local coin dealer. And in fact, he has one, I think, in Palm Springs that you can deal with anywhere in the country. I actually, last week, walked down to one of our coin dealers here. So you can do that. But what silver I would buy first is and John disagrees with how I name it, but I would buy junk silver. I'd buy a few bags of roughly pre-Kennedy, basically, U.S. coins. You buy dimes, quarters, And there's the Kennedy half dollars too. I think I can't remember. I think they're 90% silver. I think the Kennedy half dollar is 45% silver, but it could all vary. It doesn't matter. They weigh them. They know. But you can buy those bags. One place I would go for that is apmex.com, APMEX.com. That's American Precious Metals Exchange.com. APM. APMEX.com. You can buy those. You can buy anything there. If you have 20 grand, I would go and buy a monster box of silver, the Walking Liberties, US coins. Of course, if you want to buy the Canadian mint, the Australian, the Austrian, the British, you can do all that. But I think the Mexican, the Libertad, you can do all that. The Austrian coin, the Philharmonic, is excellent. The all of the silver coins from the Canadian mint are valuable. The maple leaf, the same with the Australian mint. But I think if you don't own any silver now, the single best thing to buy is the Walking Liberty, the US silver dollar, in a monster box. And the place I would go for that is goldsilver.com. Goldsilver.com. That's Mike Maloney's service. And I think he is terrific. He teaches. He's calm. He doesn't get upset like I do. And I think he's as fair and he delivers as anybody out there. That's where I'd buy the monster boxes. Other places I'd look, SD Bullion, this Miles Franklin. I've started listening to Andy Schleckman, and he's good. I like him. I've never dealt with them before. And I'm sure there's others out there, but those are the ones I trust. And in the order, Max, that's how I do it. Now, after you have your basic position, by the way, you don't need to buy 500 ounces, a monster box. You can just buy some sleeves of it. I think getting to 100 ounces is an achievable goal for everybody right now. Costs you $3,500. They call it $4,000. I mean, most people carry that much on a credit card. Get 100 ounces of silver and put it in your sock drawer. Put it in your, put it back with your ball bearings in your garage. And 7 years from now, that could be $100,000. It doesn't sound like a lot maybe when we're talking about these squeezes, but that is real money. That's not credit. And 100 ounces of silver might be able to buy you a house in a decade. Probably a monster box would be more certain. I mean, you spend 20 grand on silver, and 8 years from now, you can buy a house. We'll see. We'll see what happens. G-Bucks is going positive. It's going green. 332. I am telling you guys, that is a really strong movement in G-Bucks today. I would expect G-Bucks to go up tomorrow. And that's fantastic. That is really good action on G-Bucks. That is really good action. Meanwhile, Nixie is down. Yeah. My head is pounding. Trump mentioned naked shorting twice last week. And it sounds like congressmen are interested in learning about MMTLP. That's fantastic. And Curtis is great. I would agree with you, Mike. This action in G-Bucks looks like the shorts are in trouble. And more than that, it looks like they're about to announce that deal. Wow. New court case for short seller Andrew Left just popped up under the news. You know, I'm not saying it's legal what they're doing. I'm just saying this hypothecation, this lending. I'm not sure anybody understands what goes on. And I think they've pushed it to the limit, the leverage to the limit. And it can't be legal to do that, but they've gone away. It's staying stuck at 319. It's 332. 332. That's a good one. Yeah, Warren did do that, but I don't know if he tried to corner it, but he owned a bunch of silver. But I think he realized that it wasn't really a good bet for him at that time because there were stocks growing. But also once he bought it, no one else, who was he going to get out? And I think he got out in 2011, but I can't remember. I'll have to look that up. But he's in cash now, and there's an argument that cash is going to be a good place to be. Treasury bonds, even bills, are going to be a good case to be 9 months from now. So I'm not thinking he's going to go into silver, but he could. Finger is recovering, and that's what you need. It's what you need. That's what you need. And that could be, if Finger closes in the green, that would be a great sign for Finger. Doesn't look like it's going to do that necessarily. G-Bucks right now, I see 333. 333, 327, 333. That's what I see in G-Bucks. My head is pounding. I hope I'm not having a heart attack. I see 333 last trade on G-Bucks. Do you want to see it? Um, it always happens that way, Lou. Whatever you sell goes up, whatever you buy goes down. It always happens that way. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Oh, I know where it was. It's here. All right, let me just... I wish my head weren't pounding. So we're coming into a period of time that I think is going to be good for accumulating oil and gas companies. They're going to get cheap. And it's not something you should be trading tomorrow at all, but it's just something to learn about. Byron King, who I used to subscribe to, he just put out an article dated May 6th today called A Rough Spot in the Oil Patch. I won't read it all, but I'm going to read probably enough of it that it'll take 10 minutes. In recent news, oil giant Chevron announced this year and into 2026 that Chevron will lay off 15 to 20% of its workforce, including geological, engineering, and other scientific and technical personnel. It's incredible. It's incredible. This is, before I read much further, I think oil is going to go to $500 a barrel in the same time frame that silver goes to whatever the number is, 1,000, 4,000, 5,000 an ounce. Basically, I think you'll see oil at $500 a barrel five years from now, 7 years from now, 6 years from now, maybe sooner. Peak oil's back. No one's talking about it, but it's going to be back. Meanwhile, but this isn't showing it. Chevron is laying off. Chevron announced it will scale back its share buyback program. And they say the dividend is safe, but I bet it's not. When a big oil company lays off technical people to save money, it means that something is going on. And it's like spelling sad backwards. That's not good. Perhaps the issues are purely internal to Chevron. I wouldn't count on that. Is it seasonality? A barrel of crude oil began this week in the $57 range, which is pretty low for the last long period of time. If you look at a chart back to 20, when you had low prices from time off to thank Fauci, oil demand ground to a halt. Supply and demand. That was 2021. What's happening now? Why are oil prices revisiting previous lows? Is there a pandemic somewhere? In mid-2022, oil prices spiked upward, mostly attributable to fears of global shortages related to the Ukraine. Many people believed that anti-Russian sanctions would remove a large whack of global supply and shortages would support higher prices, but that never happened. Oil shortages never happened in 2022. Russia increased oil exports, India and elsewhere. India built out a refining sector devoted to Russian oil. It's so amazing. Victoria Nuland, Hillary Clinton, Samantha Powers, just how brilliant they were in putting those sanctions on Russia. Broadly speaking, global oil output has been ample for the last couple of years. The only real issue has been logistics. One way or another, since 22, we've never really experienced any oil shortages. For about 3 years, oil prices have followed a generally declining trend. Global demand for oil hasn't grown as robustly as some people might have forecasted. Stagflation. Biden's stagflation has roots in the 2020 economy shutdown. Biden's policies were built around a Niagara of federal spending. Partly the Biden spend-a-thon was intended to juice the economy, maintain the fight against the pandemic, and recover from the broad shutdown of 2020 under the first Trump administration. But another angle of the Biden spending machine was a combination of extremist policies. We'll skip all that. Hundreds of billions of Biden bucks flowed into boondoggle spending. Low prices for oil doesn't imply that we have more and more oil supply. In fact, here in the United States, output has more or less plateaued. The current issue, which is causing falling oil prices, is that we have declining demand for energy because of a stagnant U.S. and global economy. Oil's declining price of the past year has recently picked up speed. Oil prices have slipped by more than 15% since the beginning of April. They blame it on the tariffs. To compound the supply situation, markets are absorbing recent news from OPEC of production hikes, increases that add up to numbers well over long established quota limits. So now we have lower demand and slightly higher world supply. This leads to declining oil prices. Many sectors of the economy benefit from lower oil prices. People and businesses everywhere prefer cheaper gasoline and diesel fuel prices. And by the way, mining companies and agriculture benefit from lower priced fuel. Chemical companies do as well. Let me show you a barrel of oil. Let me show you a barrel of oil. Earl. A barrel of Earl. 3%. These are the products made from a barrel of oil. 3% is used in road construction, bitumen, and asphalt. 4% becomes a liquefied petroleum gas, which we're flare, we ship overseas, but we use it for chemicals and other things. 10% of the barrel is used for jet fuel. 12% is used for naphtha, waxes, and lubricants. 25% of a barrel of oil is used for diesel fuel and heating oil. And 46% of a barrel of oil is used for petrol. Pretty incredible, huh? Pretty incredible. Extracting oil is a highly complex and expensive technical process. Wells are expensive to drill, and what's called completing a well is even more expensive. Particularly fracking a well, which now supplies over 70% of U.S. domestic oil. 70% of U.S. domestic oil comes from fracking. At about $57 a barrel, the current price of oil, it is safe to say that most U.S. oil operations are still economic, although many are break even to, slight profit. But a continuing decline in the price of oil threatens future drilling and capital investment in the energy patch. The solution to low oil prices is low oil prices. So all right, I'm skipping the rest of that article. Now I just want to read something to you, and then we'll go back to the prices. And we're going to be at war in the Ukraine and Israel. I hope not. All right, I'm trying to find something. Let me look if I can Google it this way. Diamondback Energy. Okay, here. Let me see. I think it's this letter. Yeah. So yesterday, the CEO of Diamondback Energy, Travis D. Stice, wrote a letter to shareholders. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Diamondback stockholders. This letter is meant to be a supplement to the earnings release. The past 2 months have been challenging for the U.S. oil and gas industry, as the combination of global economic uncertainty, lower demand, and an increase in expected production from OPEC, higher supply, has lowered oil prices and increased volatility. Over the past decade, the cost of supply for the average barrel of oil produced in the United States has increased. The shale revolution has evolved from proof of concept and is now in a more mature stage of development. Today, Geologic headwinds outweigh the tailwinds provided by improvements in technology and operational efficiency. On an inflation-adjusted basis, there have only been 2 quarters since 2004 where front-month oil prices have been as cheap as they are today. Therefore, we believe we are at a tipping point for U.S. oil production at current prices. This will have, in other words, the drilling is going to go down. Production is going to go down. This will have a meaningful impact on our industry and our country. Over the past 15 years, this industry has grown U.S. oil production by 8 million barrels of oil a day to over 13 million barrels of oil a day, which is what I remembered, and then I looked it up. It was so much higher. A staggering growth trajectory. This growth alone would make the United States the 3rd largest oil producer in the world. Just the growth. Combining both oil and gas production, the United States today produces more than the 2nd and 3rd largest producers, Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. This has transformed our economy and given the United States a level of energy security not thought possible 20 years ago. In the process, 2 million jobs, blah, 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 tax dollars. They're lowering their budget. All right, I'll leave it at that. So the oil industry is going to be in for a tough time, and I think that'll set up an opportunity for everybody as we get through this period of hopefully making money to build positions in oil and gas. John Wick, I just found your channel a couple of days ago. That is laughable, I guess, to find me. The U.S. is capitalizing on South American near Guyana, near Venezuela. Well, I think they had a discovery, and I think Guyana's rich in oil, but I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say. G-Bucks is 333. Nope, it is 350. It's up 31 cents. So that is a key reversal. The low was 260. If it goes to 360, you've got it. It's reversed $1 on a $3 stock. That's pretty impressive. The volume is 51,000 versus an average of 48,000. Yeah, I think it will. We'll have the last 12 minutes here on G-Bucks. 350, 351 to 356. Mike's got it. Mike's got it. Don't know how to say it any plainer. G-Bucks is now in play. I agree with Mike. G-Bucks to test $10 soon. I agree with Mike. G-Bucks is going to go first. Some profits will go into finger. That's good thinking. G-Bucks is million shorts. Trade. G-Bucks 350. 351, 356. Can I just use a pistol? Wow. Are you kidding? It had an offer of 250. Yeah, that's something's up. Fingers now $3. G-Bucks is 350. Fingers 3, 299 to 3. G-Bucks is 351. 350 to 356. 10 minutes to go. 10 minutes to go. You know what I should have done is bought some coffee. That's what I should have done. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. 348. I'm just kidding. I need the Thinkorswim app, yeah, but I don't know if I can do it on this. I'll look that up. I'll go ahead and look up Thinkorswim. I see 348.9. Are you out of your mind? I see 349. And finger 299.5. Now finger is $3. Nixie pulls up the rear at 168.5. Endeavor silver 364.5. Guys, these are the places to be. Gonna miss out on everything. I think G-Bucks. Ham's prediction is G-Bucks. That's the one that seems to be going today. Ham posted G-Bucks naked shorts are 4 million. And I think the float, David, is 1.2 million or 1.4 million. Hard to borrow, it says. That's called getting whipsawed, and it happens to everybody. That is being whipsawed. And that's why it's so hard to do, but you have to just ride out the emotional storms of everybody else buying into a stock. Mike may be right. Mike may be right. What could make G-Bucks rip tomorrow morning is if they announce tonight that their deal is closed. And it could be a $20 stock. Ham thinks it could be $100. $349 August 10. It's $349. Webull doesn't trade in real stocks, but you insist on keeping Webull. Webull admits they do everything fractionally. 348 to 351. Webull doesn't offer real quotes. So you have a delayed quote. That's what's going on. You have a delayed quote. 349, 348 to 351. Not a lot of volume, 52,510. D.L. Mitchell, they're putting that thing into our chicken, apparently. I just found that out, I don't know, a week or so ago. 348, 351. I should have purchased some coffee. I apologize for yawning. All right, 4 minutes to go. 4 minutes to go. $349, 348 to 340. It doesn't matter if G-Bucks closes anywhere around here. That is an amazing. They tried to get it below 260, and it snaps back to be sharply in the green. That's a key reversal, in my opinion, and it's very powerful for G-Bucks, in my opinion. G-Bucks will hit momentum trader screens tonight. I think you're right. You should listen to this guy. Mike is right. I think Mike is right. They crushed Root. Let me look it up. I don't really follow Root, but Root is a game. That's not much of a crush. It's down 4%. It's not much of a crush. It's 138. But I see your point. It was as high as 181. So from that high, it's pulled back. I used to do shit like that. Webull is, I remember their prospectus. When they came out, they said they were going to trade in fractional shares. I think Webull is a pressure valve. What I can't figure out is why Wall Street would ever buy anything in when they can just go to a stock loan department and borrow more stock. But there has to be something that is causing some buy-ins beyond what my two things. Should I move what I have invested? No, you don't have to move. Fidelity. Well, actually, if Fidelity goes down for some reason, if they're the first brokerage house that fails, I think the government will bail them out. So I think you're probably all right. I think they're going to keep Webull fully afloat. I wouldn't worry about moving your shares. Yeah, they knocked it down. But also they to use your word, from the high, they have gotten it down quite a bit. All right, one more minute. Let's see what happens with G-Bucks. 349. 349. Are you out of your mind? I can't even get a quote. I cannot even get a quote. I don't have a quote anymore. So I can't see the closing. Looks like 351. It sounds like finger yesterday. That's great for G-Bucks. Nixie even is trading up in the after hours, but it traded down during the day. There it is, 352 to 363. Closing price 356, up 37. That's amazing. That is a hell of a trade for G-Bucks. Yeah, I think G-Bucks, whoever Mike said, finger is 299. Nixie's way up in the aftermarket, guys. Nixie's up 8 cents in the aftermarket. It was down 11 cents during the day, and now it's up 0.0782. That might mean something. Seems like everything has energy at the same time. Where can I buy G-Bucks? At your brokerage firm. You can buy it on E-Trade, I know that. G-Bucks closing on the high of the day. I agree with Mike here. I think Mike is your play-by-play announcer with a prediction that makes sense. Amazing. Spread for finger 278 to 310. Finger traded over 1 million shares today and down on 34 cents. You're being sarcastic. I'm not going to read that out. Mike, I know you're going to... Next Friday is triple witching, so finger is going to be wild ride. Yeah. Last night was weird on finger. The spread was wider than Senator Larry Craig's spread. I've seen both this before too. And I picked GameStop. Yeah, I happen to agree. G-Bucks looks fantastic. Today's action is a clue of something better to come. Let me see what David said. I can't read it. Close to 2. They kept on at 3 because of options. Yeah, that could be. They want to take the premium on both sides. But $3 is also a round number, and that might be where orders were. I don't know. You might be right. You might be right. I should have gotten some coffee. Should have gotten a cup of Joe. A cup of Joe. I think Mike's going to be right on it looks like he could well be right on G-Bucks. What time is the call for Finger? I don't know. You have to look up on Ham's Twitter page, and I'm sure he's got a call going. I don't know about it though, so you have to look there. So while you guys are reading to each other, I want to talk to you about silver supply crunch. I'm not going to read word for word, but I'll read. It's a pretty good article. This is written by Ted Butler, and it comes out in the Morgan Report. And last month, he wrote an article focused on silver demand, and I think I read that to you. And basically, the biggest silver demand story is solid state batteries. And that, to my memory, was Samsung. That's going to change the world, but it needs silver. So now he wants to discuss supply of silver. So he says, according to this is Ted Butler in the Morgan Report, according to the Silver Institute's newly published, quote, World Silver Survey 2025, unquote, the global silver supply grew by 2% year over year to a total of 1,015 million ounces in 2024. Despite this rising supply and a 3% year-over-year fall in demand for silver, the silver market was not relieved from its long-standing shortfall as a supply deficit of 148 million ounces was recorded. A deficit of 148.9 million ounces of silver was recorded in 2024. This marked the fourth consecutive year of supply deficits, bringing the cumulative deficit since 2021 to a substantial 678 million ounces of silver. Although output from primary silver mines registered yet another annual decline of 2% year over year in 24, recycling grew by 6%, or 10 million ounces. So recycling was 194 million ounces last year. In 2025, silver recycling is set to flatline at around 193 million ounces, constrained by photographic scraps decline and depleted silverware stocks. Meanwhile, silver mine production is expected to rise by 2%, in 2025 as Endeavor Silver's Terro Nero project comes on stream and Pinot mines return to production. That's the one I remember talking about, probably from this service as it relates to Endeavor Silver. Anyway, Chilean production led by Codelco and Kinross should be higher. All things considered, total silver supply is expected to grow 2% to 1,030,000 ounces in 1,030,000, so that's 1,030,000 ounces in 2025. And it will be met by marginally lower total silver demand of 1,148,000 ounces. This will produce 117,000 ounce silver supply deficit. I guess that's incredibly, the Silver Institute says we cannot expect much of a solution to this deficit position from mine production, as mine production is expected to peak in 2026 and then fall as several mines start to reach their end of life. Thus, recycling must take the baton to help fill the void of future mining production. Higher prices will stimulate growth in Indian jewelry and silverware recycling. In this sense, silver supply will need to derive from sources outside of mine production and recycling if higher silver prices are going to be kept at bay over the long term. Aside from an unforeseen fall in silver demand, the only supply-demand factor with the propensity to invalidate the silver supply deficit is of above ground stocks of silver. According to the Silver Institute, these above ground stocks are not only uncorrelated to the silver price, they're completely non-recoverable at any price. The bulk of the historical mine production through to 2023 has either been truly lost or is practically irrecoverable at almost any conceivable silver price. In other words, we threw away most of our silver, or it's in our computers, it's in our switches, etc. So the most clear area to look for silver is the inventory held on the exchanges. LBMA silver inventories have fallen to 711 million ounces, the lowest since the LBMA began publishing their data set. An estimated 500 million ounces worth of silver has been drained from the three major exchanges since 21. The LBMA's daily trading volume is no longer covered by free float, according to TD Securities' Daniel Galani. This signifies that many reported silver inventories are unavailable for delivery, making the silver market susceptible to outsized purchases from whales. David Bateman bought 13 million ounces of silver. I don't know if this is 1,000,000 or 1,000. I can't tell. David Bateman says physical possession is everything. The whole world right now is a sophisticated game of musical chairs. The chairs are precious metals. All right, that's enough for today. It's a lot more to read. Fingers 307. That's a good move. Finger just earned a technical rating from NASDAQ. Yeah, today is good. Martin Shen will be 12 o'clock tomorrow. They will want to short in the squeeze knowing they'll be underwater with the dividend coming. That's possible. I think the biggest impact of that dividend next week is they've got to close the deal. If the deal's closed, this thing could jump. And maybe they'll announce that now. Who knows? All right. I don't know what else. Let me just see if there's any other news stories. To talk about. I think you guys are distracted by Finger and G-Bucks, which you should be. You should be. All right, no news. All right, everybody. I don't think we're being very productive. Thank you. I mean, you have. Thank you for joining. I'm talking about myself. I don't think I'm being very productive with you right now. So I'm going to let you get on about your day. I agree with David or Aaron, that finger, that was a nice rally at the end. Finger right now is trading at, it's slow. I don't know where it's trading. Nixie is 174. G-Bucks 356. And I guess I can't give you a price on finger. I'm not able to for some reason. So, but I think they've all 305. Okay, I can't get it, but I think they've all shown nice rebounds, and maybe we'll see a follow through in the morning. So anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. It's 4:30. I hope you have a nice evening. Ciao.